Hey guys, so I'm wearing a hat today because I didn't want to do my hair and I was too lazy to. You probably see my hat more and more often because as I'm making more videos, I'm gonna be too lazy to be doing my hair and fixing the bed a little bit. So if my room gets messy and my hair is a bit messy, too bad. But yeah, today's lesson is gonna be a little different because I'm gonna be doing a run through example. Hopefully this helps you guys out a little more. I'm gonna be doing more of these in the future for sure. But yeah, hopefully you guys can keep up with it, and let's get to it. Alright, so I'm going to speed up the beginning process a little bit because I've done this a whole bunch of times now. In T21, we're learning about if statements, and if statements are nothing to do with graphics, so I'm just going to grab the base code folder from intro and copy it onto my desktop. Go in starter. Oops, I double clicked. Right click, edit with notepad. Right. So Java so far has been executing everything top down. And what if I only wanted some parts of my code to run? Like take for example, like character response. Like if a character was talking to me and I said yes or no, the character should have different responses, right? So if I walk into the Pokemon like health center or whatever they're called, and then the nurse asks me, yeah, you want me to heal your Pokemon? I can say yes or no, right? And that's what we're learning today. We're learning about conditions, okay? And I taught you guys this before, or I introed you to it at least, when we were learning about primitive data types. But one of the four important data types that we learned was called a Boolean. And you just write out Boolean, and I would say something like, is coding is equal to either true or false. And because I'm coding, I'm saying true. What's something else I do? Is gaming. I play games a lot. Then I can say false because I'm not playing games right now. This doesn't have to be true to real life. I'm just, making that point out. And so what happens if I print out one of these? So system.out.print is coding. Right? So if I save and I compile and run, it'll say true. Because remember what I said earlier about how system.out.print works? It parses, or what that means, it converts all these booleans into strings when it prints out, okay? And this was the same thing with integers. When we made numbers, system.out.println printed the number, regardless of it being a string or not, alright? And so how do we use these booleans? There's not that much usage for a boolean directly stating something as true or false, right? And the way we do this is through logical conditions. There's other ways, but you've seen this in math. So I'm gonna open Paint again, like I did last time. Right, so in math we've learned things like less than, and like greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and like not equal to, right? Well, these are our conditions in math, and it's the exactly same thing in coding, so let's just make a line down. And the equivalent to these in coding, they look very similar. So as you can guess, these are identical. Because these exist as, carrots on your keyboard. However, things change a little bit at the bottom, but this is also very self-explanatory. Since we can't write this directly on the keyboard, how we do it in programming is we write a less than and then an equal to afterward. Because, if you say it out loud, less than or equal to, right? Or greater than or equal to. That's how you write them in code. And down here is where it gets a little different. This is something you guys have to learn over time, okay? They don't literally look different, but in practice, it's a little more confusing, and I'll get into that once we start programming. And the equal to is equal to. So why is it equal to? Why can't it just be equals to? Well, we learned how to use equal to already. We use the equal sign to create variables. When we say int a equals 5, we're using the equal sign. And we're not testing a condition there, we're just setting a value. So the single equal sign is to initialize variables, right? And the double equal sign is to compare variables. You guys have to get this down. It'll be a little confusing in the beginning, but I'm sure you guys will get the hang of it. And for not equal to, we use an exclamation mark. Equal sign. And in Java, this exclamation mark always means like the opposite of, alright? And so because it's the opposite of equal to, it'll be an exclamation mark equal sign. Alright, so that's what they are. And so now I'm gonna combine something that we've already learned before, which is outputs and booleans, which I sort of did here, but I directly stated the boolean. And this time, I'm gonna use an example Dr. Neat used in his notes because I think it's a great example of how to use these booleans, alright? And the difference between the equal sign and the equal sign. So I'm gonna make a boolean Jane, okay? I'm gonna declare Jane, and I'm gonna initialize Jane with 4 equals 5. So I know this looks really funny, but what these equal signs mean, the difference between them is the first equal sign is I'm setting the value for Jane. Remember, the right side of the equal sign is to initialize. So I'm initializing the value for Jane. And what this double equal sign means is it equal to each other, right? As a condition. So is 4 equal to 5? No, right? And because 4 isn't equal to 5, this returns false when the code runs, okay? And so if I system.out.print, and run, it'll say false, right? Because if you look at the code, 4 does not equal 5, right? So Jane is going to print false. This doesn't error despite how funny this looks. And so what do you guys think would happen if I said if 4 does not equal to 5, right? Well, if I run this, oops, I closed it already. Let's compile and run. And it'll say true, because 4 doesn't equal 5, right? So how do we use these? Oh, actually, before I get into that, in Dr. Neat's notes, he put an equal sign and parentheses around them. These parentheses are just grouping parentheses, okay? So not all parentheses in programming use parentheses strictly for, you know, like methods and, you know, holding parameters and things like that. These parentheses could also be used as like grouping tools. So this is just to make it clear that these equal signs don't get mixed up with this equal sign. All right, that's all it is. I usually don't put them, but you know, if you have like a lot of things happening at once, sometimes it is helpful. Right, so how do we use these booleans effectively in our code? How do I make that character response like I did with the Pokemon nurse, where I say, yes, heal my Pokemons, or no, don't heal my Pokemons, and get the different responses? And this is where we use the if statement. And if statements test a condition. And what I mean by that is, I'll write it out for you guys. I'm going to comment this all out. It'll be 3 lines. Right? And it'll be if condition, right? And this will execute if true, like the stuff in there. Alright, so what I mean by this is you can kind of say your code out loud. So if Jane is true, right? Then I wanted to system.out.print Jane. Alright, and in this case it'll be false and nothing should print, right? Perfect. And remember earlier I said this exclamation mark would change this to not equal to, which would make Jane true because 4 doesn't equal 5. But you can, because this exclamation mark is just accepted as not equal to, I can also put Jane here, right? Not Jane, exclamation mark there. Because when Jane is set to false up here, it's replacing Jane with false here. And what's not false? Well, not false is true, right? So actually I can run it like this just to show you guys that I can just write false, put an exclamation mark in front of it, and it'll be true. And we know that it's true because I'm system.out.printing Jane, and Jane is false. Right, so the things I want as conditions, I can put them all within if statements, and the things that I just want to run all the time, I can put them outside if statements. So system.out.println, let's say like hello world. Right, so despite if Jane being true or false, hello world will always print. Okay, so let's apply this to something. I'm just gonna go back to my Pokemon reference. I don't know where it came from, but you know it's working, so cool. Let's say I have a player, and let's name this player. I don't know. I'll name it myself. Why not? I'll name it Tony. All right. So string player is equal to Tony. Then let's make a string, like nurse, and I'll name her nurse. And now I should make a boolean to see whether I said yes or no to my Pokemon thing, right? If I want my Pokemon healed. So I would say boolean is healed equals, I guess I have to give it a default value, so I'll say false for now. Oh, and by the way, I know I'm putting is in front of everything. I just like to have my programs, like, I like talking to my program, right? So I can say, I can name this like A if I want. So I can say A is false. But when I say something like is healed, I can say, you know, like are or is the Pokemon healed? No, they're not, so it's false. Alright, so now I can system.out.print and say, so let's say nurse is saying, oops, do you want your Pokemon healed? Right, and on the next line, I can say, I could say a player, right? Then I can say yes or no. So here I can say, how should I do this? Okay, I can't really think of another way to do this. I'm gonna show you guys something right now, and in the future, this is actually a really dumb way to do this, but it gets the point across for now. So I'm just gonna do it. And I'm gonna have a string up here, a separate string, and I'm gonna call it choice. Okay? And this choice is either gonna be yes or no. And so for now, I'll say yes. Okay? And so now I'm gonna make an if statement. So if I have an if, and here I can say if choice equals yes, then, and if choice equals yes, what do I want the program to do, right? So you guys can pause the video here and try to guess what I'm trying to do here. Well, actually, before you guys do that, I need to put boolean before this. Oops. If that's a hint, if you guys know what I'm trying to do. And what I'm trying to do is, if I'm saying yes, I want my Pokemon to be healed, right? Then I'm going to set is healed equal to true. And I need to make another if statement if my choice is no, right? So I'm going to say if choice equals no, and in here I'm going to say is healed equal to false. Alright, and the reason why I'm saying this is bad is you should never set a string equal to a string and try to expect an output out of it. There's a little exception. You're supposed to use something else than double equal sign, but in this case it's okay, right? I'm showing you bad code, but I'm letting you know right now that it is bad code. So in the future, I don't want you guys setting two strings equal to each other and I'm seeing if they're true or not, okay? There's another way to do this. Right, so I can go back down here and say plus choice. Because what I'm saying is, you know, if I want to say yes, then my player is going to respond with yes. And if I say no, my player is going to respond with no. And that's why it's kind of looks funny down here. Then I can say system.out.println. Oh, actually, before I do that, what I can do is I can use my if statements again, right? Now I can say if. And if I say if choice, okay, so this is a shorthand way to do it. What I can do is I can say if choice equals true, right? But in reality, let's say choice is true, right? Oh, not choice. I'm so sorry, guys. Is healed. Let's say is healed was true. Let's say this was true, right? What's gonna happen is it's gonna replace is healed with true. And so does true equal true? Yes. But in the beginning, I told you guys that in between this if statement is just a condition, right? So I don't need to say is true equal to true. Of course true is equal to true. I can just say if true, right? Because that's a condition, if true. So instead of saying if is healed is equal to true, I can just, equal to true, sorry. I just made the mistake there. I told you guys not to make the mistake for. Instead of doing this, I can just say if is healed, right? Because it'll be, is healed is going to be true or false. And if it's true, this if statement will run. Right, and so in this if statement, I can say system.out.println. Let's say nurse one more time. I can say your Pokemon are now healed. And if not, if, right? And I'm gonna do the same thing. If I can say if is healed is equal to false, right? So if, false equals false, then this if statement is true. But since is healed is a boolean itself, I could put an exclamation mark in front of it, right? Remember, because the exclamation mark means the opposite of. So if is healed is true, so if is healed is false, it'll change the false into a true, because not false, right? Not false, as I showed you guys earlier, is true. So if is healed is false, not false is true. And I'm gonna go down, and I'm gonna say system.out.println nurse, and I can say please come again. Alright, so let's see if this giant block of code works. I should have tested in between. That's the proper way to program. You should try debugging or, running your code and seeing if it works or not and fixing it frequently. I just did it all at once. I really shouldn't have done that, but here goes nothing. So let's compile. Alright, no errors. Sick. Now let's run. And so, Nurse Joy is going to be like, do you want your Pokemon healed? And I say yes. And Nurse says, Pokemon are now healed. Alright, so let's say I set choice to no. Alright, so let's save. And what I should get is it's going to say no. So if choice equals no, is healed is going to be false. And because is healed is false, not false is true. So this if statement should run. Alright, so let's compile and run one more time. So Nurse is going to say, do you want your Pokemon healed? I say no, and Nurse says, please come again. So this is just an example of how to use if statements. Really powerful stuff. It lets your code take control of your code and see which parts you want to run or not. Alright, I know today was a bit of a handful in that this lesson was kind of long compared to the other ones. I don't know about long as in length of time, but long as in the amount of code I'm writing. But as the lessons progress, my lessons are going to be more like this, right? Because this is how you're going to be coding, like actually out there, not just some like lesson and not being able to apply that lesson, right? Don't you hate it when you're in like math class, they teach you some concept on paper, but they don't give you any examples? I mean, a lot of teachers do that, but some don't. And I feel like examples help a lot more in programming than it does in other subjects. So hopefully you guys understand what's going on. If you don't, look carefully into it and try to follow, when I set choice to yes or no, right? Follow through the program like I did earlier when I said with no. See, because it's no, this if statement isn't going to run. This one is. It's now is healed is false. Now I can go all the way back down and say, if is healed is false, this one's not going to run because if false is false and now not false is true. So this one's going to run. If you can go through your program like that and pick and choose what is going to run and what isn't, you're in perfect shape. Alright, so let's get to the lab. So I'm going to close this, throw this away like usual. And let's go down. Right, so write a program that has two int variables. Initialize these variables, some int value, your choice. Write a message out to the screen if the two values are different. Verify your code works by trying out different values. Alright, so this lab is asking you to make, you know, int A, int B. You can name them whatever you want, and you're. Hey guys, it's me. The recording cut out earlier, so I was just trying to finish up what I was saying. All I want to say is try thinking about what different means in this case, right? So when he's saying write a message out to the screen if two values are different, in terms of booleans, whether it's true or false, and how you're going to compare these two values to try to see what different means and put that into code. So good luck, guys.